Good day, everybody. I am Chris Sevigny with Sevigny Mortgage Note Investments, and today we're going to talk about investment risk in the mortgage note investing space, which is what we invest in. First, our standard disclaimer that this information is provided for informational purposes only, and actual performance may differ from these projections. We also make no guarantees, including guarantee of the accuracy for the information. The information provided today is based off of past experience of similar deals that we will talk about, which we have bought and sold hundreds and hundreds of deals that we can talk about. When we talk about the word guarantee, now what is a guarantee? Guarantee is I invest this much money, I'm guaranteed to get all of it back. Unfortunately, in any type of fund, we are not a bank or an FDIC insured lender, so we cannot provide any type of guarantee. In our Regulation A+ offering, it's explicitly disallowed from the SEC, who's the Securities Exchange Commission, about providing any type of guarantee. And I'll give you a second to read this, but the last sentence I think says it all. A claim of guaranteed high returns with little or no risk is very likely fraud. Now, I am not accusing anybody of fraud, but I have seen deals online where they're projecting returns of 90% per year. And to me, I can't see that happening. Warren Buffett has, look at his historical returns. Many consider the greatest investor ever, and it's nowhere near 90%. So while we talk about these high returns, the SEC, again, puts out another alert about high yields investments. And just caution you, when you're seeing returns that investors are out there offering significant high returns to their investors, because there's returns that get to the investor, but also all the fees, and overhead is part of that. On top of that, you'd have to look at these returns, and they basically have to be doubling their money. So very challenging. So questions you should ask is to really understand, how they make their money and understand the risk involved. With that, we're going to do a quick case study on a non-performing note deal. This is very similar to a deal we recently had. Of course, names and everything are, not the same because our name is John Doe. Many of you know who John Doe is, but John purchases a home in September 2015 for $175,000. John, had a decent job but had some credit issues. So John was able to put $25,000 down, but his monthly principal and interest payments $1,100 because he's at 8%. Now, sometimes people say, how did they get to 8%? That seems very high. Rates are typically around 3-4%. There's still a lot of loans that are out there that originate at that high rate based on, again, borrower's credit. In today's environment where rates are at 6%, 8%'s, not that much higher. And we are going to also explain how we make, pay investors 8% when their loan's 8%, because that's a question we get asked a lot as well. Well, unfortunately, John lost his job in 2021 due to COVID. Pretty common thing that's occurred. John hasn't paid his mortgage since September 21, so he hasn't paid in a year. So he's 12 months behind on his mortgage. He's trying to work something out with the lender, but the lender wants all of that money up front, all that $13,000. So some highlights on this loan. He's paid down the loan a little bit over the 5 years. When you pay a mortgage, many of your payments early on are interest. So principal slowly goes down. His principal is now just over $141,000, but his property's increased. His property is now up to $200,000. So he's got a nice bump on his property value. So his loan to value, 140 to 200. He's 70% loan to value. So he's got equity in this property. So John doesn't want to sell because if he has to sell, granted, he may get that money, but he's got to find a place to rent, and his rent may be more than his mortgage payment. So we step in and we see this on for sale, and we're going to purchase this note. So what do we purchase this for? We're going to purchase this for $90,000, which is approximately 64% of the unpaid balance. So we're paying 64 cents on the dollar, but this property has equity, which is a benefit, and our investment to property value is only 45%. So our $90,000 investment is protected by a $200,000 property. That's one of the benefits of note investing, is when you're buying at a discount with a property that has significant value, your investment to value is protected, which again is a risk mitigation factor. So now, working with John to get him on a new payment plan. And John admits he doesn't have $13,000. So John is able to give us, let me get this back on. John can give us $5,000. Okay. Now we modify his loan, so we take whatever he had past due as well, and we roll it into a new balance. So his new unpaid principal balance back up to $150,000, which essentially we're just giving it's back to the original loan, because we're keeping his payment at $1,100. We keep the interest rate the same. So we're basically giving John a fresh start back to somewhat square zero. Okay. In year one, how much money do we get in this deal? Okay. We get 12 payments plus the $5,000. We're getting $18,200 in our pocket. And then after that, continue on as long as we hold this, we're getting $13,200. Okay. In 2 years, again, most of those early payments are all interest. He's made some principal. The principal is going to be down, we're going to say $147,000. A little above, but we're going to round it up, round it down. We say, okay, we have a buyer who might want to buy this note. Okay. Now, John could actually in 2 years refinance. And then, we get paid $147,000, which is a new balance, which would be a grand slam. We don't assume that. But 2 years, we may look to liquidate this asset. And we're going to sell it at a discount to another investor. So we're going to sell it at a discount of $115,000. Okay. So they're still getting it at a 20% discount, where we got it at 35% discount. But they've got payment streams coming in. So what's our total revenue? We got payments for 2 years plus the $115,000, for $146,400. Our initial investment was $90,000. We do have some costs, fees involved, which range around $2,500 a year. So over 2 years, that's $5,000. We're going to say we're going to be in this thing for $95,000. Okay. Over 2 years, it's about a little over, that type of return of $51,000 on our overall investment. It's going to be annualized to roughly 25%. Now we base everything off of IRR, but IRR is a mixed, complicated calculation. But at the end of the day, this is when we get somebody reperforming and keeping them in their home. You can see why we want to keep people in their homes. Now let's go to an example where we foreclose on somebody. Okay. Well, unfortunately, John doesn't want to keep his house. John wants to liquidate his house, and we have to go through the legal process. Okay. That property value on paper is $200,000. We're in a judicial state where we have to go through the courts. Typically, it's about 6 to 18 months. In this instance, we're going to say it's 24 months. It takes a little longer. Okay. During this 24 months, we're going to spend $10,000 in legal costs, which on average are about $5,000 to $10,000. Non-recoverable costs are costs that do not get added to the loan, and these are we're gonna again say these are $5,000. Now we're in this thing for $105,000. Okay. Well, our loan cost is $105,000. This home's getting sold at auction. It's got a value at $200,000. Okay. Let's say it sells for a 25% discount. It sells for $150,000. Okay. Our yearly ROI on that, roughly 20%. Lower than getting them reperforming and selling the note. It's one of the reasons why it's better to keep people in their homes. Okay. Now, you as an investor wondering, what's my risk involved on this deal? Well, if we're all in at 105,000, plus we have our holding costs, our salaries, and 8% return, we're going to say that's another $12,000 a year. Okay, 8% to you, roughly 3.5, 4 points per us. So that's 12,000 per year over 2 years, 24,000. So $130,000 is the number, the magic number, where investors will get their equity plus their money on a $200,000 property. So what is that? Erase this here. That would have to be 35% overall loss in property value. So that is a significant number for a property to go from 200 down to $130,000. So I wanted to share this with you to give you an idea of that risk that is involved in this space and how we look to mitigate risk overall and work with borrowers to keep them in the properties. So we hope you found this video very educational. If you have any questions, I'd say please feel free to reach out and reach out to invest@70investments.com or give Lauren a call, 805-410-8577. Be happy to talk further about you, about our investment strategy, and about the offering statement. Thank you and have a good day.